Hey guys, what's up, Zyphlin here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can make any Warframe in the game pretty good. So the example that I'm going to be using in today's video is Necros, and the reason that I went ahead and picked Necros is because his abilities aren't really that insane. You've got Soul Punch, which is a single target ability, which is like, okay, whatever, you can make the enemy ragdoll and deal a little bit of damage. You've got Terrify, which is pretty good, but it's also a very slow casting ability, so you can get shot and die pretty easily whenever you cast it. Desecrate is definitely Necros's best ability in the game because like re-rolling the bodies for extra loot. Who doesn't want that? And then we've got Shadows of the Dead. Now, Shadows of the Dead, it more or less suffers from the exact same thing that Terrify does, where it's very slow to cast and you can die while you're casting it. So Necros is kind of an okay frame, but he's also a frame that I would recommend a lot of new players go and get because you can get those extra resources by using the Desecrate ability. But you might be saying to yourself, I really don't enjoy playing Necros because of the negatives that we talked about, so that slow casting speed and the fact that he doesn't really have like any damage dealing abilities or anything like that. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to identify which one of the abilities is pretty bad, which one we like the least. So I can tell you straight away that we're keeping Terrify because Terrify reduces the enemy's armor, so it's pretty good in that sense. It's also some nice crowd control, so that's good too. We're also going to be keeping Desecrate because we want to be able to get extra loot from playing Necros. So really the choice is between Soul Punch, the single target ability, and Shadows of the Dead. So I would say that Soul Punch is probably Necros's worst ability simply because it is single target and also the augment for it doesn't really do much. Augment for Soul Punch is called Soul Survivor, so it says use on a downed ally to revive them with 30% health. Not really worth throwing into a mod slot, to be honest. But then Shadows of the Dead has the Shield of Shadows augment, and this is each shadow within 50 meters takes 6% of the damage done to Necros in his stead. Basically, these things will take damage on your behalf. That's pretty good for survivability. So all we did is we took a look at the abilities and we're like, which ones do we want to keep? We identified that the first one and the fourth one are kind of mid, so we want to consider replacing one of those. And what we're going to replace it with is the Helm system, which you can access down here. Now you need to do a few things before you can go ahead and access the Helm, but we'll talk about those in a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take Rhino's Roar ability and just throw this onto our Necros. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click Roar, I'm going to press Infuse ability over Soul Punch in my final config and press confirm. So the reason that we choose Roar is simply because Roar is pretty much the best damage buffing ability in the game. It's the easiest to get and it's pretty versatile. You can use it on a wide variety of different weapons and stuff like that. It's also useful in many different game modes. And this is just going to help us kill more enemies. The more enemies we kill, the extra loot we're going to get from Necros' Desecrate ability. To make use of the Roar ability, we need to have a high ability strength and a high ability duration build. So the base duration of Roar is already 30 seconds, so we don't need to go overkill on the duration. So I want to have more ability strength, so I'm going to go ahead and run Growing Power in the aura. Then next up, because we talked about the Shield of Shadows augment, I'm going to go ahead and throw that on. So because Roar already has a very high base duration, I'm going to go ahead and throw on Transient Fortitude. And if we hover over Shadows of the Dead, we can actually see the Shield of Shadows augment is being benefited because of that ability strength that we just threw on. So the damage redirection goes up to 9% instead of 6. So we're kind of incentivized to keep on increasing our ability strength even more. But because we took that negative to ability duration, I'm going to go ahead and throw on some duration mods so we can bring that back up again. I'm going to go ahead and throw on Prime Continuity. Because Desecrate makes the enemies drop more health orbs and stuff like that, I'm going to go ahead and run Equilibrium for a lot of energy sustain. I'm going to go ahead and pair that with Prime Flow so we have a lot of reserve energy. I've got 3 mod slots left, so I'm going to go ahead and invest more into ability strength. So this is basically what I landed on. Now, this by no means is the most optimal Necros build in the world. However, if you've just got a frame, or let's say you need to use a frame for a specific activity and you're not really too fond of the frame, all you have to do is take Rhino's Roar and place that over its worst ability, and then go for a high strength build with a little bit of duration, while also keeping in mind a little bit about the Warframe's kit, and then you can sort of build around that. So basically, we have Augur Secrets, Transient Fortitude, Umbral Intensify, energy conversion, and molt augmented for power strength. That's going to make our Rhino's Roar as strong as it possibly can be. It's also going to make our Shadows of the Dead soak up a lot of damage for us, and it's going to give us a very strong armor strip. We free on Transient Fortitude, which gives us a -2 ability duration, so I decided to counteract that with Prime Continuity for a little bit more duration. And then for more survivability, because we're not running a defensive mod other than Shield of Shadows, I went ahead and I free on Arcane Eruption, and this is on energy pickup. It's going to knock down nearby enemies. And if I wanted to, I could format a little bit more to make this build more optimal. So I could throw on stronger mods or something like that, or I could even throw something in the Exilus. But basically, I would be able to take Necros into Steel Path content now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and load up a Steel Path mission, and I'm going to show you that this build literally just works. The only real downside is that we didn't invest too much into ability range. Now, we could sacrifice a little bit of ability strength for more ability range, and that's going to be beneficial for our Desecrate ability, but it's already a 25-meter radius, and it really just depends like how far away you're killing the enemies. So I guess just for the sake of laziness, I'm going to go ahead and throw Augur Reach on over Augur Secrets. That's pretty much that. So let's pretend I need some Argon Crystals. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and play the survival mission in the Void. Let's just go ahead and jump into Mott on Steel Path mode. So I'm going to go ahead and cast my Rhino's Roar now, and I'm going to start killing to build up my Molt Augmented stacks. I'm going to turn on my Desecrate ability so I get that extra loot. And then whenever I get a few kills, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press 4 to turn on Shield of Shadows. Now look how long this casting animation is. That's going to help keep me alive, and now I can just jump around if I really need to. I can go ahead and cast Terrify to scare the enemies away and strip away all of their armor. And just like that, we've made Necros like a really strong, like, Steel Path viable frame who can survive. You have Rhino's Roar just to increase the amount of damage that you're dealing. Terrify to help out with your damage dealing even more and even survivability. Desecrate so the enemies are going to drop more health orbs, energy orbs, etc., which is great for your sustain because of equilibrium. Then we've got Shield of Shadows active to just help us with our survivability. Of course, you still have to make sure that you're sort of like on the move and rolling and stuff like that with this type of build. And if you really wanted to, you could drop that Augur Reach mod or Augur Secrets mod for a defensive mod like Rolling Guard if you're really struggling to stay alive. Honestly, what I'm feeling the most just playing around with this build is the duration, so I would want to maybe consider throwing more duration on. Or I can just pay extra attention to whenever my abilities are going to go down, and then whenever I need to recast my Roar or I need to recast Shield of Shadows, I can just press Terrify. So it's really down to you what you want to do. And of course, everything that I'm kind of complaining about, like my survivability, the duration of my abilities, those are only really problems because I am playing in Steel Path mode versus like really hard enemies. In the normal Star Chart content, like the things that I'm finding problematic basically aren't going to be a problem for you. Definitely haven't had any problems with energy sustain or anything like that. You can see the amount of health and energy that I'm getting at the bottom of the screen. The only other thing that I would consider for this build is throwing on Natural Talent for the casting speeds to be a little bit quicker, but we can do that with Archon Shards now. And look, I finally got myself some Argon Crystals like I came here for. Long story short, put Rhino's Roar ability onto basically any frame that you think sucks, and then that frame suddenly becomes viable and more usable within all the content that you're going to be doing in the game. But how do we actually do that? To get yourself a Helminth, you want to come to Navigation, and you want to come over to the planet called Deimos. Now you have to have completed the Heart of Deimos quest to actually get access to here. So go ahead, load in to Necrolysk, pick any server you want. You want to come over here and talk to Sun, then go ahead and press Browse Wares, scroll down, and you're looking for the Helminth segment blueprint. They have to be master rank 8 before you can get this, and you have to be rank 3 with the Entrati family. And to actually be able to craft it, you need to go ahead and capture purple Velocipods. You need to craft Adromal Alloy in your foundry, and then you need to get saturated muscle mass from fishing, then just pick up Ganglion from just around Deimos. You can get the Adromal Alloy blueprint by going ahead and pressing fast travel over to Otak, then press Browse Wares, and the blueprint is right there. It requires Adramalium, Traveride, which is actually a Fortuna mining resource, Plastids, and Lucent Terraglobe. Then you take all of those and you can craft 20 of this in your foundry, in your ship. And then, unfortunately, you need to go ahead and you need to craft another Rhino Warframe. And if you forgot, you can get Rhino from Fossa on Venus. You need to kill this boss to get the Neuroptics blueprint, Chassis blueprint, Systems blueprint. And then you need to get the actual Rhino blueprint from the market over here. So if you go ahead, type in Rhino, click on this one here, then press blueprint for 35,000 credits, then go to your foundry, craft all of the other components, so the Neuroptics, Chassis, and Systems, and then put them together using the Rhino blueprint. That's going to take you a total of 4 days to craft all the components and then Rhino himself. Then you want to go ahead and you want to take Rhino. You need to bring him down to this chair and then you need to sacrifice him, otherwise known as subsuming. And just to show you guys what that is actually like, I'm going to go ahead and get myself a Loki Warframe and I'm going to sacrifice him here so I can get the decoy ability. Here's Loki. He's 175 platinum. Let's just go ahead and purchase him. That was such a waste of platinum, but I'm doing this for you guys. Apparently, I already had a Loki in preparation for this video and I just totally forgot that I had one. Now I'm going to take this extra Loki that I have and just bring him to this chair, and I'm going to go ahead and press here where it says Subsume Warframe. I need to go ahead and give my helm some of these resources, so oxides, pheromones, and bile. I press feed Nom Nom Boy, that's what mine is called. I've went ahead and fed him a bunch of resources. Let's just go ahead and press feed. Now I press Subsume Warframe, I type in confirm, and now this Loki is dead. Oh no. So he's gonna get sucked up and basically, like, you know, become a part of this room or something like that, and he's gonna turn into a little flyer. But then if we go back down to the chair, what you can see, if we take a seat, you can see that it becomes available in basically a full day. You've got to wait another full day after you have waited 4 days to craft the Rhino. You have to wait another full day for him to be subsumed so you can take the roar ability and put it on other frames. So this is something that you sort of want to keep in mind whenever you first start playing the game, that you want to, you know, farm up another Rhino set so you can then build another Rhino, so you can sacrifice a Rhino, so you can take Rhino's best ability and put it on other frames to make bad frames better. And the reason that I kind of covered Necros specifically is because Necros is one of those frames that you want to pick up along your journey of Warframe, simply because he makes it so you can get bonus resources, and you can actually get him quite early on as well. But you might play Necros whenever you first pick him up and be like, wow, this guy's kind of underwhelming. Well, that would be the path that I would take to make him a little bit better. You don't have to copy my build one for one. You can turn the Umbral Intensify into a regular Intensify, the Prime Continuity into a regular Continuity. You can swap that Augur Reach Out for Natural Talent if you wanted. You don't even have to use the Shield of Shadows augment, to be totally honest. You could just run a defensive mod. So, like, if I was making this build for myself, I don't really care too much about Shield of Shadows. Like, it's not my favorite ability. If I wasn't going to use any Archon Shards, I'd go ahead and throw on Natural Talent. Then I could go ahead and throw the Despoil augment on in here. So this is just going to make it so that instead of draining my energy, it drains my health for Desecrate. To me, that doesn't really matter. I think this is kind of a waste of a mod slot, especially because we're running Equilibrium and Prime Flow. It's just like you get so many health orbs and stuff anyway. I would just go ahead and throw Intensify on there, but it does depend on the type of content that you're doing. Like, if the enemies are high level, Intensify is probably better, but if they're lower level, having more range on there is probably better. With this build, instead of having like a 100% Rhino Roar buff, we maybe have like a 94% Rhino Roar buff. There's not that big of a difference, to be honest. So yeah, Rhino's Roar via subsuming and the helm system on your frame's worst ability is going to take your frame from being pretty bad to pretty good, and it just depends on the type of content that you're doing. The rule of thumb is just go for a high ability duration, high ability strength build, and then kind of mod for the rest of the Warframe's abilities after you find out which one is the worst one or the one that you like the least. And that's pretty much it. That's how you take, you know, any Warframe in the game and you make them more Steel Path viable. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, as it helps the channel a lot. If you want to get early access to my videos, you can become a channel member by pressing the join button beneath this video for $5 a month. Or if you want early access to other cool resources and behind the scenes content, you can subscribe to my Patreon for less than $5 a month. Consider clicking on the video on screen, and I'll see you guys in the next one.